What's going on, everyone? Chargers Now is presented by Prize Picks, and everyone knew what the weakness for this Los Angeles Chargers team was. Going into this offseason, they had to find a way to completely revamp that offensive line. And during the Roman era, when he was the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers, the offensive line, it performed at a lesser than rate than what most would have wanted here in Los Angeles. In the Mike McDaniel era, can that team take a gigantic step forward? Certainly feels like they are doing that. When you look at the Chargers' projected starting offensive line group, as well as the depth chart behind those players, you can see that there are a lot of players on here who have had proven success in the National Football League. A player in Cole Strange who has had some success in his career in the National Football League, although maybe a lesser than amount than what people would have previously wanted. And then a player in Jake Slaughter that we believe is going to be a very good player, but hasn't necessarily hit that quite yet. How are they melding with their new coach, Butch Barry, and how does that offensive line crew look in the 2026 NFL offseason? Looks pretty darn good so far. If you're hyped up for the Chargers' new look offensive line, make sure that you go down below in the comment section and hit that thumbs up button. I call it the comment section, but just below the screen. There's going to be a thumbs up button there. You got to have to smash that button. So we already talked about this. We knew that the Chargers needed to fix that offensive line. And general manager Joe Ortiz was going to be someone at the forefront of doing that, of course, being the team's general manager. Now, a lot of people, myself included, didn't think that Ortiz was going to make a lot of big moves in NFL free agency, which he did. But he also went into the NFL draft, and he made some big moves there, drafting 3 different interior offensive linemen, as well as adding in another tackle. Now, I think it's important for a lot of us to look at the players that were added to the Chargers, and that is a smart thing to do. But it's also equally smart to look at the coach that was added, because people are going to forget or can forget that Butch Barry was brought in to coach the offensive line unit with new offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel. Barry and McDaniel were together in Miami with the Miami Dolphins. Now, I think what we are starting to see through OTAs is that Barry has a different philosophy on the offensive line unit, and he is someone that is going to continue to really push the envelope forward for this offensive line in Los Angeles. O-line coaches, they're never the nicest guys out on the field, but it certainly feels like Barry's intensity is something that's going to help take this crew over the top. The Athletic's Daniel Popper had this to say on Butch Barry's coaching mentality. Barry is attempting to build a mentality that makes up the foundation of a new offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel's scheme. If Barry builds this mentality successfully, then the scheme will come to life as it did when Barry was McDaniel's offensive line coach from 2023 to 25 with the Miami Dolphins. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is this new scheme? Now, what the Chargers are going to be doing is called an outside zone scheme, as opposed to what they did with Roman, which was much more of a gap scheme type of system. Now, in layman's terms, I'll be able to explain this very simply. Outside zone. Essentially, the offensive line is working as 5-as-1 players. So the players are going to take their 1 to 2 to 3 steps to whichever direction they are running. Say outside zone right. They're going to do 1, 2, 3 steps outside. And then they are going to surge. And they all have to work in tandem. It can be a very effective blocking style because what you are doing is you're getting the defensive line to move. And then the running back is able to use his vision to find where the hole is and really explode. Gap scheme is a lot more pulling, a lot more double teams, a lot more attacking a man, right? You think about gap scheme, if you've ever played football, think of a power run scheme. That is a little bit more of what Roman wants to do. So that's 2 different body types of an offensive lineman. Daniel Popper had this to say on what Butch Barry's approach is to playing the offensive line. I'm telling you right now, it fired me up. Barry believes in being proactive as opposed to reactionary. That mentality applies to all phases of the system. Offenses will always have more information than defenses. The offense knows the play call. The defense does not. The broad philosophy of McDaniel's scheme is to take full advantage of this knowledge gap. On the offensive line, that means firing off the ball and forcing defensive fronts to react to that speed and quickness. I'll give you my personal opinion on that quote here in just 1 second, but first I need to let you know that today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. With playoff basketball here, there's no better time to cash in with our friends at Prize Picks. And I'll tell you this, the app is really easy to use. To qualify for a Prize Picks lineup, pick 2 to 6 players and select more or less on stat projections, including points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers, hits, home runs, strikeouts, and several others across all sports. One thing I love is the new social feeds feature, where you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. You can actually follow me on the app, at BigWill7774, to see all of my lineups. I have a lineup for the football action going on later on this year. Justin Herbert, more on his pass yards. Quentin Johnston, more on his receiving TDs. Rashid Shaheed, more on his receiving yards. New user offer. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Clickable link to download the app is in the comments and description. Now, these comments from Butch Barry really fired me up because I am a former offensive lineman. Now, I played collegiate football, but I was at a level that, well, really only me and probably my teammates and my parents really cared about. But playing offensive line in a zone scheme can be a fun challenge for a lot of players because you end up as an offensive lineman typically leaning out a little bit, and it's more about speed. But then you use your speed to go mano-a-mano against another man and try and get the block accomplished. I think that the offensive line is going to be much improved simply by listening to the way that Barry talks about how offensive line needs to be played. As an offensive lineman, there is a certain mentality that you have to have. There is a certain ruthless aggression that you need to carry about yourself. It is about attacking another person and never being passive. I think by just mentality alone that this Chargers O-line will improve. And that's not even talking about the scheme improvements. There's a reason why you're seeing a lot of teams move to outside zone. Why? Because right now, offensive linemen have shown that they are getting more agile, that they're getting more mobile, and they are showing that they are getting faster. That is leading to them being able to get these outside zone reaches that allows the running back to get to the outside. It also continually moves gaps, which makes it hard for defenses to be in the position that they need to be in. This offensive line is going to be much improved. That's my opinion. What's your confidence level in that statement? Go down below in the comment section and scale it 1 to 100. 100 being the most confident, obviously 1 being not confident at all. I think right now, for me, I'm at a 92, 93%. I feel pretty dang confident that the Chargers are going to be able to do what they want to do with their offensive line as long as everyone is healthy. I look at this offensive line, and you want to play fast and you want to play free. The best way to play fast is by not having to think all that much. And so what you're seeing right now with the Los Angeles Chargers is them going through assignments, techniques, making sure that everybody is locked and loaded so they can play as fast as possible and put themselves in the best position to have as much success as possible. What I think you are seeing right now with this Los Angeles Chargers team is a laying down of the foundation. And it's very important that you have a lot of these offensive linemen in, even if they're not even able to fully participate right now. Of course, I'm talking about Slater and Alt, Trevor Penning a little bit, because they need to be able to hear the terminology. They need to be able to see what Coach Barry is seeing on the O-line. Joe Alt had this to say on the new offensive scheme, and I frankly think it's going to excite a lot of people. It's very freeing offense to play in. From the beginning, you've got your assignments and your technique, but from there, it is turn, sprint, and run as hard as you can. You're able to play fast, play physical, and kind of unleash, and not really think as much as I have in the past. It's really just go, and I think that's a lot of fun for an offensive lineman. It's very rare as an offensive lineman that you get to be told, just go be an athlete, right? And so to have an offense where you're asking your O-lineman to do just that can be freeing for the group. It can allow guys like Slater and Alt to really utilize their skill set and not second guess themselves. Oh, am I supposed to be to the Mike backer? Am I double teaming to the crack guy? No. Just know who you're supposed to go and get and go do that to the best of your ability. And right now, it certainly feels like Barry's allowing the Chargers offensive linemen to really do that. So what does the group look like right now? Because we showed you at the beginning of today's video what the depth chart is projected to look like. But that's not exactly what it's been so far. When we look at the current group that's been getting the majority of the offensive line reps, you're essentially seeing the same crew, except instead of Jake Slaughter at left guard, you're seeing Coyote Oshika. Now, this is something that is an interesting development, and we're definitely going to have to keep a close eye on it. Oshika is someone who has been a journeyman NFL player, last obviously in Detroit with the Lions, but he is someone that has played in the National Football League and gotten snaps. Could the Chargers value that a little bit more than Slaughter's eventual ability that could potentially be better than what Oshika has been so far? What I will say is this is a solid group in my opinion. Worst case scenario, you're looking at a crew that all has NFL snaps and NFL reps. Sometimes you just need guys who have been there and done that and can go and point to their track record that allows a quarterback, say Justin Herbert, to feel a lot more confident. We do know that in McDaniel's system, the guards don't have to be quite as nails as the tackles and the centers need to be. Right now, I feel pretty confident about your center and your left and your right tackle more than I do about the guards. So maybe that falls in line with what McDaniel is saying. But I'm telling you right now, find a way to keep this man upright. If the Los Angeles Chargers offensive line is able to find a way to keep Justin Herbert upright, you are going to see one of the better seasons from a Chargers quarterback in Chargers history, in my opinion. But what you're also going to see is you're going to see this team have the ability to really reach the heights that we know they've been able to reach. They just haven't over the last couple of years. Will the offensive line finally stay healthy this season? Go down below in the comment section and let me know yes or no. I'm very interested to hear your opinion. I think at some point you got to have a year where everyone stays healthy. Why not be this year? Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't miss any Chargers news or rumors all year long. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Can't wait to see you next time. Tell someone that you love them, and bolt up.